Good evening. It is Friday evening, August 7th, 2020. I believe it's the 20. Yeah, it's the 7th. Okay. Um, I was walking today and I had this thought. I tried to look at the date of births of all the victims that are known that happened in 74. In 74, Ted Bundy was 28 years old. Um, they say that this Lloyd Marshall was born in 1916. My dad was born in 1918. But anyway, they said this Lord Marshall, he went to Penn State. He was a salesman. He had connections to Philly, and he'd been in the Air Force. And when you see him standing there, the one picture they do show, his stance, his height, the flop of his hair, his face frown, he does look a lot like Bundy. His hands, the way his shoulders are. I mean, there's a lot of similarities in that man and Bundy, but who knows? You can read a lot of stuff into it. But when you do see that one picture where he's standing in front of row houses, he sure does look a lot like Bundy. But anyway, so he's born in 1916, and Louise was born in 1924. So he's 8 years older, 8 or 9 years older than Louise, Eleanor Louise Cowell. Um, Now, I'm not a psychologist, but I noticed none of the people that Bundy killed were born in the 40s. Bundy was born in 1946. He graduated high school at 19 because he started late. Most people graduated at 18. I graduated at 17. Not because of speed up, because I was too wild. I'm very smart, but I was too animated to. But anyway, uh, all of the victims 51, 50, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57. Those are their birth dates for the most part. Now, if he killed the Ann Burr girl, he was still 7 or 8 years older than her. So there's something. The girlfriends that he had for a long time, or at least that he seemed more rational and more normal around, Liz Clover, she was born, let's say, in 45, and the Diane Edwards was born in 45. They both were like a few months to a year older than him. They both were older than him. All of the girls, some were as much as 20 years older, but if you were to take a mean, mode, and median, the average, I would say, was 8 to 10 years younger than him. So he's 28, Nancy Wilcox, 17. He's 28, Carol DeRoche is 18. That's 10 years. He's 28. The Hawkins girl's 18. Janice Ott, she's 23. She's one of the older ones, but she's tiny, petite, and she's still 5 years younger than him. And Denise Nuslin is 18. She's 10 years younger than him. The Manson girls, I think she was born in 51, maybe 54. So she's a good 7 to 8 years younger than him. None of his victims were born in the 40s at that point. I'm not saying there's not other victims and transients and people he may have killed over time that we don't know about, hitchhikers and whatnot. But for the most part, why would that be? He is killing himself each time because his father took advantage of his mother and spoiled the rose of his mom, and she becomes pregnant with him. And his father then was Lloyd Marshall, who was 8 to 9 years older than his mother, which is strange too, because my father was 8 or 9 years old. But normally in the United States, a man marries someone or has dates with someone, generally speaking, 2, 3, 4 years younger. 8 years younger is pushing it. I mean, that is 8 years. And well, I'm not saying the relationships, in his mind they were. But I'm saying why. There's some kind of psychological thing going on there. And I don't know if anybody ever noticed that the average person was 8 to 10 years younger than him. The average. Now, of course, the two children that were 12, and he was like, 32? They were 20 years younger than him. They were all younger than him. This strange, So was he a pedophile, or was there something about 18 and 19-year-old women that was it because he could take advantage of them? Was it their naivety that an older woman might say, well, where is the sailboat? Why are you dealing with a sailboat if you got a broken arm? Did you hurt it here? Were you injured here? Is that why you can't get it back on the car now because you twisted it falling as you were walking around out here? So I mean, the story don't make sense. Another story, the briefcase. You know, why are you walking around at midnight with an old luggage type briefcase and a small handle? You know, why didn't you put it in a backpack or something? You know, or something about it just don't add up. You know, if you're trying to, why are you trying to slug along with your leg in a cast in a medicine type briefcase? When they said it was a round at the top, I had to look that up. They don't mean flat round. That what I was thinking is like a portfolio. They just so shaped round at the top, but that's not what they mean. They mean almost like a medicine bag. I looked it up. They still sell them. The Navy had them, and it was kind of antique then too, because by then people were starting to use canvas and nylon bags. Believe it or not, in the 70s, people were beginning to use canvas and nylon bags, an old-fashioned leather bag, and I thought they meant flat though, but it wasn't flat. It was actually a barrister bag. It's like almost like an exhibit bag or a medical bag. It's round. It has a small handle. But you got to think, okay, why are you out at midnight with a small handle briefcase that's heavy? I mean, the normal things you would say, what the hell? What is this, But people didn't stop to think. Because, I thought about that late Sammamish a lot of times. I said, well, did you injure your arm here and you're trying to get home now? Or why are you trying to sail on a day that your arm is injured? I mean, immediately think, this doesn't make sense. You don't go sailing if your arm is broken. You need your arms to sail a boat, And did you know that Liz Clover had there was kind of a sore spot between them, and she had gone to a lake with another friend. I don't think it was Mary Jean or whatever her name was, and she had gone somewhere, and there was we used to have bike clubs, but there was a guy he had a Puton boat. It's kind of a sailboat, but there's two things. And she said, "Oh, I'll be glad to do it." And she said it wasn't much. She sat in the front and leaned left and right, and it would help steer it. And then he and that guy invited her for some regatta. And Bundy had heard about this, and he didn't like it. He said, "You're ruining everything." And it was just a few weeks after that that he killed those two girls and had a pretense of getting a sailboat. And she had actually platonically, like I would go to a 10-speed bike group, and we'd go camping. I'm not involved with them, but, maybe I want to be in the bike club, and go riding with them. So it was sort of like that. She said it was platonic. And she had was helping out with the Puton, a form of sailboat. And he heard about that. And, it was just 2 weeks later, he's out there doing, but why were all the girls younger? I mean, I don't know. None of the girls were in the 40s like he was. And I think I think there's something to do with maturity. I don't think it's necessarily a naivety, and that was what he was going for. And it may be symbiotically related to that relationship between his mother and the older Air Force man that was 8 or 9 years older than her. Maybe that hurt even more, the fact that this was a mature man and he still walked off, He wasn't like a young kid that just didn't know any better. He was actually he was a more mature person, and he still walks away. All right. Thank you, and have a good evening.